Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for joining on time. These are the last sessions for ongoing German B1 batch. In today's first half, we will talk about the position of the word nicht in a sentence in German language. You may think, do I really have to learn? Do you really have to learn this? Because we did A1, we did A2, we did B1, and so far we never spoke about this. And also most of the times you used it, right, and you were right. So you have been using nicht, so at least for the last 6 months, if you're attending A1, A2, and B1 with me, and you are using nicht, and you were right, I never said you are wrong, right? Then why do we have to learn? You have to learn because it's a part of German B1, uh, the curriculum. That's why you have to learn. Also, now you are getting to advanced stages of German language, right? So you learn something in A1, then you do repetition of some A1 topics in A2, then you again in B1 you do repetition of a lot of topics from A2. When you go to B2, you will do B2 is nothing but B1 plus a lot of more exercises. If you ask me, I may be wrong, but B2 is just 90% of the repetition of whatever you learned in B1 with a few more exercises. C1 is where you will learn something new, right? So now what I'm saying, like you are going to higher stages, so you have to learn the intricacies of the German language, right? Is what happens when you go to higher levels. You need to learn to speak much more clearly. You have to make sure that your grammar is perfect, right? Again, not saying that you have to do it. I'm saying this is the idea behind today's sessions, that you learn to place the word nicht correctly. And in the second half of the session, we will see how you can, you will learn German vocabulary, new German vocabulary, and I will help you, others will help you if you struggle with one or the other words' meanings. Any questions, please ask. Disclaimer: if you're preparing for some German language exam, please do not depend entirely on these sessions. It takes at least 140 hours. If I really have to make sure that you are ready for the exam, I need to spend 140 hours with you, and I have only spent around 30 hours with you. At least not even half. So uh, I cannot guarantee you're ready for the exam. If you do the exercises that I've said, if you do exercises on any the books recommended by the from the books recommended by the German Examination Authority, then you may be ready for the exam. But do not think after attending these sessions you are ready for the exam. You have learned most of the grammar, but you still need to do a lot of exercises before you decide to sit for the exam. So, uh, the word nicht, basically, what you are doing is you are negating, right? So there is a sentence and you are negating it. Now there are two things you can do when you are doing negation. Either you can negate an entire sentence, the red one, so you can either negate an entire sentence, or you can negate a specific part of a sentence. What do I mean by specific part of a sentence? A sentence has a subject, has a verb, has an object. Sentence can also have accusative object, dative object. Sentence can also have prepositions, right? Sentence can also have adjectives, right? Depending on which part you want to negate, that is what the green banner means. Negate a specific part of a sentence. Now, how do you do both these things? We will learn with the help of exercises. Feel free to interrupt anytime you have a question. Let's start with how to negate an entire sentence with the help of the word nicht. This, we just have to, you already know how to do it. I'll just explicitly show you how to do it, right? So, negate an entire sentence. So, we are talking about how you can negate an entire sentence. Now, a sentence normally, if whatever you are reading in German, a sentence can either be the main clause of the sentence or it can be the subordinate clause. What is main clause? Main clause is like, the sentence starts with that. Subordinate clause will be like, for example, I am learning German because I want to get a higher salary. So I am learning German is the main clause. Whatever comes after because is the subordinate clause. Okay? I think it's good. I think you understand what main clause and subordinate clause is. A sentence, when it is the main clause, then a sentence is usually consisting of a subject. So you have a subject and you have a verb. I have written this in green. There can be a prefix as well. So in German language, unlike English, in German language you have verbs, and there are verbs. So there are some verbs which they are like normal English verbs. But then there are verbs which you can break them down into two pieces. So the verb will have a prefix, and when you use that verb in German language, the prefix will be at the end of the sentence, right? In main clause. For example, geben, right? Ich gebe is just like geben, that's just, ich gebe. But if I want to say, so geben means to give, you all know. But if I'm saying aufgeben means to give up. So it will be ich gebe auf. So auf will be at the end, right? So a main clause, normally you have a subject, you have a verb, and if the verb is separable, the separable part, the prefix will be at the end of the sentence. Yeah. Now, where do you place nicht in this set? In this, right? You place nicht here. Okay. You place nicht before the prefix, or if there is no prefix, you just place nicht after the verb, right? So ich gebe nicht or ich gebe nicht auf. Yeah. So if the verb is not separable, okay, if the verb is not separable, meaning there will be no prefix, what you have to do, the you have to place nicht at the end of the sentence. So Santosh, I think your micro. Okay, yeah. Maybe Vandana, you can read.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you can do.
Are you
Yes,
able to
yes,
hear
you can
me?
read that. Please read the two sentences.
Okay. Ich gebe nicht, ich gab nicht.
Right. So ich gebe nicht, like I know I don't give. Gab is the preteritum of geben. So I did not give. Right. Something like that. What about if the verb is separable, meaning it has a prefix and the prefix is separable? What do? You place nicht just before the separable prefix. Yeah, you place nicht just before the. Yeah, I think, yeah. Apologies for this. The heading is wrong. It should be subject, verb, nicht, and then the prefix. This is wrong. Let me just correct it right away so that it does not confuse you further. Yes. So the verb is separable. That means it has a prefix which is separable. What you do, you place nicht just before the prefix after the verb. Here are some examples. Santosh, do you mind reading?
Yes. Du weißt, dass ich nicht aufgebe. Du weißt, dass ich nicht aufgab. Du weißt, dass ich nicht abgebe. Du weißt, dass ich nicht abgab. Du weißt, dass ich nicht zugebe. Du weißt, dass ich nicht zugab.
Thank you. So here I have purposefully tried to confuse you. I'm trying to teach you two things at the same time, right? I said when you have a, again the, yeah, headline, boy, subject, verb, nicht, prefix. This is what I said, right? Subject, verb, nicht, prefix. I said you place nicht after the before the prefix. But here I am doing something else. I'm saying here the verb is also after the prefix because this is a subordinate clause. Okay, if you know what I'm saying, this is a subordinate clause. So, so if there was no nicht, right, you would have just said du weißt, dass ich nicht aufgebe. Du weißt. So if there was no nicht, you would have said du weißt, dass ich aufgebe. Du weißt, dass ich aufgab. Du weißt, dass ich abgebe, and so on, right? And if you want to place the nicht, you place it before the prefix. So the rule still holds. It's just that the verb is after the prefix. Don't worry about that, right? So in subordinate clause, okay. So here, Santosh, maybe you can read these ones as well on the left side.
Du weißt, dass ich nicht gebe. Du weißt, dass ich nicht gab.
Yeah. So in the main clause, you just place it after the verb, and if there is a prefix, before the prefix, right? It is always after the verb and before the prefix. In subordinate clause, it's before the prefix. It's just like in subordinate clause, the nicht will be before the prefix. It just happens to be that the verb is after the prefix. So don't worry about that. So in main clause, the nicht is after the verb. In subordinate clause, the nicht is before the verb. It just happens that you have a prefix over here. So here, du weißt, dass ich nicht gebe. I hope any questions. If I have confused you, please ask.
Yeah, a bit of. Where is example for the normal one? This is
Normal
subordinate. I
one.
mean, yeah.
Here. So
Okay,
ich
here you
gebe
tell
nicht
that the verb, the nicht comes always at the end.
at the end. Yeah. And if there is a prefix, just before the prefix. Yeah. If there
Okay.
is a prefix, I mean, after the, I mean, you remember that in main clause, it is after the verb. That's it. Yeah. Makes sense. So,
Because in subordinate class, normally if you don't have a nicht, das ist Aufgabe, right? That
yeah, yeah,
Aufgabe
yeah,
always comes at the end.
yeah.
And if you want to negate it, then you have to negate the verb. Then you have to put that nicht
before
before that verb.
before the verb. I mean, you can also think it like that. You're negating a specific part of the sentence, but just think main clause, subject, verb, nicht, and if there is a prefix, you will have the prefix. In subordinate clause, where is this thing? Subordinate clause. Yeah, I think I had the headline was right. I just got too excited. So in subordinate clause, you have subject, nicht, and prefix and verb. Yeah. So in subordinate clause, you have subject, you have nicht, you have prefix, and you have verb, right? So you have subject, you have nicht, you have prefix, and you have the verb. Make sense? Okay. Please ask if there is still confusion. Again, you know how to do it by now. It's just that now we are talking about in theory. It may sound a little bit confusing, and please ask. Uh, yeah. So we looked at how to negate an entire sentence, right? So we looked at how to negate an entire sentence. Let's talk about how to negate a specific part of a sentence, right? Sentence can have many parts. Let's look at. Yeah, Kushal, please ask.
Hi, just a quick question.
Yeah.
So, if the sentence goes like "He does not look good," so
Yeah.
would that be "Er sehe nicht gut aus," or
Yeah.
would
So
that be "Er sehe
let
gut
me
nicht aus"?
let me. Yeah. So you want to say he does not look good, right? So let's say how we can say he does look good. So you will say er sieht gut aus, right? Now you want to
Yes.
negate a specific part of the sentence, right? So let's say if there was only er sieht, you would have said er sieht nicht. Again, this means he looks, he is seeing, right? Right? This is how you will negate just this one. Now you want to say er sieht aus. Now if you want to negate this one, I said you place the nicht after the verb before the prefix. Yes. Now you want to. There is a spelling mistake. Where did it go? Yeah, spelling mistake. Your answer was correct. I'm just trying to make it clear for everyone. Er sieht gut aus. Now, where do you place? So you can place nicht over here, right? You can also place nicht over here. Nicht here as well, right? So you can say er sieht nicht gut aus or er sieht gut nicht aus. Both are fine. But better is to place it over here because you are negating a specific part of a sentence, right? You are saying he does not look good. You're commenting on like looks. So you are saying he does not look good. Yeah. You can also
Okay,
say
fine.
er sieht gut nicht aus, but it's very. I mean, it's not how you normally talk. But can you do it? Yes. Some teachers may cut your marks. I will not. Yeah.
Okay,
Understood?
thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, but we are
I
getting to
have
that.
question.
Yes,
Yeah,
please
I have
ask.
question. We need to write the prefix after the nicht, or we need to write the verb at the end.
You need to write the prefix, or can you please come again?
At the end, we need to write verb or prefix.
At the end is the prefix, right? So this is like normally you have subject and you have verb, right? But verb
Yeah.
can be separable. If the verb is separable, then you write subject, verb, and the prefix. Yeah. Example, like ich gebe, I give. But if you want to say I submit, then you will say ich gebe ab, because here the verb is geben and here the verb is abgeben. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when it comes nicht, so we need to add before prefix, right?
Before prefix, yes, because like some like the position of the prefix is fixed. It will be at the last position in the subordinate in the main clause. It's fixed. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Got it.
nothing can go after prefix. So it has to be either, I mean, here, but you cannot place it because the verb will be at the second position, and then you will have three things: ich, nicht, gebe. You know, again, you can do it, but then it will be something like subordinate clause. The more we talk
Yeah.
about it, the more confusing it sounds. I know. Please ask if
Oh,
you have more questions. Yeah.
no. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Most welcome. Thank you for the questions. Let's talk about what Kushal asked. So he is saying he was negating a specific part of a sentence. So we will start doing that. That sentence can have many parts. Let's start with the easier ones. So how to negate a specific part of a sentence? All you have to do is place nicht before that specific part. Whatever that specific part is, you place it before that specific part. Let us start with adjectives. What do I mean by adjectives? I mean, you know what adjectives are, but when you write a sentence, a sentence will have normally, for me, subject verb is enough to define it as a sentence. If you can have an object, yes, then it becomes even a better sentence. But that object can be a noun or it can be a adjective. So for example, I can say ish. For example, I can say ich hab, yeah, yeah, ich habe ein laptop. I can say ich habe ein laptop. So here the object is a noun, but I can also say ich bin glücklich. I am happy, right? And glücklich is not a noun; it's an adjective. I'm saying the object can be an adjective or a noun. So when the object is adjective, you'll be negating that adjective, right? So here are some examples. Pooja, do you mind reading?
Yes. Uh, which one? The last one.
Yeah, yeah, the German sentence.
Er ist nicht traurig.
Right. So here the specific part is the adjective, and we are placing nicht before the before that adjective. Please, do you mind reading the rest of the
Yeah.
sentences as well?
Ja. Er ist nicht glücklich. Er ist nicht traurig. Er ist nicht interessant. Er ist nicht schön. Er ist nicht lecker. Er ist nicht teuer. Er ist nicht schwer.
Yeah. So now you know how to, yeah, continue. Uh, so so we looked at how to negate a specific part of a sentence when that specific part is an adjective. What else can be a specific part? That specific part can be the dative object. A sentence can have an accusative object. It can also have an dative object. Yeah. Normally, the accusative object, again, if you are getting confused what accusative, this is V1, I have to talk like that. But just a simple explanation: accusative object is the object which is getting directly influenced by the verb. Indirect dative object is the object which is getting indirectly influenced by the verb. For example, if I look at the sentence, Ich gebe nicht ihm die Erlaubnis. So the Erlaubnis is the one thing that is being given, right? The direct thing which is being given. Erlaubnis. What does Erlaubnis mean, Pooja?
I don't know.
Okay.
Yes.
Anyone else?
Permission.
Permission. It
Uh,
like so you, yeah, permission.
yeah.
And that is the direct object, so it's the accusative object. Now when you give something, it is being given to, like, there someone receives it, right? So that is the indirect object, and that is the dative object. It's not the best explanation, but it works for me. Now, so when we want to negate the dative object, all we have to do is place the nicht before that dative object. uh, Kushal, do you mind reading? Okay. uh, Vandana, do you, Santosh, you can read if you don't mind.
Yeah, I can read. Maybe. Ich gebe nicht ihm die Erlaubnis. I mean, I did not give him permission. Du weißt, dass ich nicht hier die Erlaubnis gebe. Ich habe nicht ihnen die Erlaubnis gegeben. Ich kann nicht die Erlaubnis geben. Du weißt, dass ich nicht ihnen die Erlaubnis geben kann. Ich gab nicht dem die Erlaubnis.
Yes. Read this word one more time.
Dear.
Diya.
Dear.
Diya.
Dear.
Like in
Dear.
India, in Diwali, we light those things. What are those
Dear.
things called?
Okay.
Diya. Yeah,
Okay.
diya. Yeah. So whenever a word ends with the sound of R, don't say R, say A. Diya. Diya.
Dear.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you see, right, uh, now, like if there was only ich gebe, I would have said ich gebe nicht. Now you can say, can I also place it before the erlaubnis? Yes, you can place it. It depends what you are trying to negate. Now you will ask, okay, how do I know what I'm trying to negate? Like, ich gebe nicht ihm die Erlaubnis. This is one sentence. And what is the difference between ich gebe nicht ihm die Erlaubnis versus ich gebe ihm nicht die Erlaubnis? Yeah. Now, please
I
listen
understand.
carefully if you want to understand the difference between, like, if I place nicht over here, that means I am negating this part, you know. So you can say, okay, I am not giving him this. And
That
if
means you're
you,
giving to someone else. Is that
yes,
right?
something like that, something like that. And if you place nicht over here, then you are negating this part. That means you are giving him something else, but just not the allowedness. Yeah. Again, if you more you think about it, more confusing it will get. Just start using nicht. People, your gut feeling works most will help you most of the time. Uh,
One question, that means is this complete sentence is complete then? I mean, ich gebe nicht ihm the Erlaubnis. That means I
it's
am
not.
not
I
giving
mean,
him, but to
sentence
someone
is
else. Right?
complete. Sentence is complete.
Okay.
But of course, when you read this sentence, right, you get questions, right? Okay, if he is not giving uh, like him the allowedness, who else is getting the allowedness? you know
Yeah,
Of
yeah,
course,
yeah.
this is just one sentence. Ich gebe nicht ihm die Erlaubnis, sondern gebe ich ihr die Erlaubnis. Something like that. For example,
Mhm.
I don't, ich gebe nicht Santosh die Erlaubnis, sondern gebe ich Pooja die Erlaubnis. Yeah, of course. Your question was legit. I mean, yeah, 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 it's a good question. It's just that, yeah, today's topic is nicht. Uh,
Okay.
Let's look at when the specific part is an adverb. If you ask me right now, tell me what is between an adverb and adjective. I cannot. I really still struggle. What's an adverb, what's an adjective. But but if you show me a sentence, I'll tell you, okay, this is this is an adjective. I think most of us like that. I should have paid attention in my English class. So when the sentence has an adverb and you want to negate that specific part happens to be adverb, this is how you do. Gan happens to be an adverb. So yes, so here the same sentence, just a little bit. We added the verb gan. Can someone tell me what is the difference between, for example, if I say ich gebe ihm die Erlaubnis, that is one sentence, and the other sentence is ich gebe gern ihm die Erlaubnis. What is the difference? Santosh, do you mind?
That's difficult.
But what does, for example, ich tanze is one sentence. Ich tanze gern is another sentence. What is the difference?
I like,
Yeah,
like,
yeah, something
That
like. So gern is something like to. Yeah. So ich
yeah.
gebe gern ihm die Erlaubnis. I like to give him the permission. Again, the sentence does not make
Oh,
sense. But I will.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ich gebe
Here
ihm
means,
die Erlaubnis. It's a plain sentence. I'll give you the.
mhm.
I give the permission. So, uh, Vandana, do you mind reading?
No. Ich gebe nicht gern ihm die Erlaubnis. Du weißt, dass ich nicht gern ihr die Erlaubnis gebe. Ich habe nicht gern ihnen die Erlaubnis gegeben. Ich kann nicht gern dir die Erlaubnis gegeben. Du weißt, dass ich nicht gern ihnen die Erlaubnis geben kann. Ich gab nicht gern dem die Erlaubnis.
So now can you like Kushal asked this question, right? So I mean, I can also place nicht over here, but then it will mean something else. For example, if I say ich gebe nicht gern ihm die, again, it also depends how you say it, right? Ich gebe nicht gern ihm die Erlaubnis. So I don't, like I don't like to give him the permission, right? But if you place ich gebe gern ihm nicht die Erlaubnis, it will be like, it will sound like I can give something else, just not the allowedness, something like that. Again, the more we think about, the more talk about, the more confusing it gets. It's always good to just practice. By now you did not even know that all these intricacies exist. Now you understand, but don't get worried about that. So you can place nicht, before gern. You can also place nicht before ihnen. You can also place nicht before the erlaubnis. You can actually place nicht before. I mean, for example, here ich gebe nicht gern ihm die Erlaubnis. You can also place nicht before the ich, right? But then it will be like not only but also. Uh, uh, Something like nicht nur ich gebe ihn nicht something like that. I'm saying you can place nicht wherever you want. The context will change, sometimes slightly, sometimes quite a lot. What about sentences? Can
Oh,
question?
one doubt, one question in the back. Okay, if I have a sentence, I don't know, something like I don't know, the Morgan is an adverb, but if let's say ich gebe morgen him, ich gebe morgen ihm das Buch.
Yeah.
Then if I want to specify that, let's say ich gebe nicht morgen him das Buch, that means I'm not giving. I mean, I don't
Some
give him
other
a
day
book
you may give, but just
tomorrow,
tomorrow you will
but some
not give.
other day I give, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
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 So that's what you're trying to say. Specify the Morgan, right?
Yes. Yeah. If you say ich
I
gebe
don't know what
morgen
means adverb, but
nicht das
yeah,
Buch, then you are saying you will may give something else, just the book you will not give.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Something like that. Yeah. But very good explanation. I will use that next time. Yeah. Uh, let's talk, guys. Please interrupt. No. We'll learn together. That specific part can also be a preposition, right? So far we looked at sentences. So we looked at sentences where you have a subject, you have a verb, you have an adverb, you have a dative object, you also have an accusative object. Then we looked at sentence where you have a main clause, and then in this sentence you have like, yeah, okay, all the sentence. I mean, I was looking just for a verb which has a prefix as well, right? So let's say if I can say ich gebe nicht, uh, yeah, don't have it, so let's not talk about it. But you can also have a preposition in the sentence, right? So let's look at these sentences. So when you have a preposition, here I have used the preposition few. You can have other prepositions as well, nach, for, and so on. uh, and when you want to negate the whatever follows the preposition, you place nicht just before preposition. So here it is few. uh, Annelene, do you mind reading? Don't know if I pronounced-
Ja. Welche Sätze?
Yeah, from here. Ish.
Ja. Okay. Ich gebe gern ihm die Erlaubnis nicht für dieses Projekt. Du weißt, dass ich gern ihr die Erlaubnis nicht für dieses Projekt gebe. Ich habe gern Ihnen die Erlaubnis nicht für dieses Projekt gegeben. Ich kann gern dir die Erlaubnis nicht für dieses Projekt geben. Du weißt, dass ich gern Ihnen die Erlaubnis nicht für dieses Projekt geben kann. Ich gab gern dem
Okay. Maybe somebody else can read. Mansoor, do you mind reading the last two sentences? Gaurav?
Du weißt, dass es gern Ihnen die Erlaubnis nicht für dieses Projekt geben kann.
Projekt, not project.
Projekt geben kann. Es gab gern dem die Erlaubnis nicht für dieses Projekt.
Read this word again.
Ich
Okay, yeah. So, this is like now the sentence has, let's look at the sentence, right? You have a subject, you have a verb, you have an adverb, you have a dative object, you have an accusative object, then you have a preposition, and after that also you have a noun, right? So you can place nicht before für, you can place nicht before the Erlaubnis, you can place nicht before ihm. You can also technically place, I mean, you can also, of course, place nicht before gern. You can also place nicht over here. So nicht ich, sondern, for example, you can say, not me, but he will give the permission for this project, something like that. So you can place nicht almost everywhere. So, and this is what, yeah, I don't know if they will test you, how they will test you the knowledge of placing nicht in an exam, but you should know this. Yeah, when you are writing something, be careful. When you are, if you're supposed to write something important for the company, if you're doing it in German, I know you will use deep translate for that, but be careful. Deep translate does not know what you are trying to negate. Any questions? Please understand, I mean, learning language, there can be many approaches. The best way to do is be very, very focused about the German language that you like, German language that you want to speak in the area. Meaning, if you go to Goethe or any other institute, they will teach you as per their curriculum, right? For example, in Endeavor, they make you mug up all the vegetable names, right? I don't think it's relevant because, I mean, for example, if you are a data engineer, you don't need to talk about vegetables, right? You want to talk about pipelines, you want to talk about hyperscalers, right? Whatever your profession is, I don't think any of us likes to talk about vegetables. So why do we need to learn that? Okay, it's their curriculum. So how you now, so before we go that, learning a language has three parts, right? You need to learn the grammar, you need to learn the vocabulary, and you have to practice. No one can teach you vocabulary. Of course, if you have too much money, spend it on a teacher, teach you vocabulary. But vocabulary is just, this is the word, this is the meaning. You can do it on your own. Practice, of course, you can pay someone money to practice with you, but you are in Germany, you have people around you who speak German. That service available for free. So practice vocabulary you have to do on your own. I'm saying you don't have to pay for it. Grammar also you got it for free, almost for, like right. This is done. So you have all the things that you need to speak German now. So grammar remains the same for all of us. Grammar is the same. Practice, of course, you can practice with whomever you want. What about the vocabulary? So vocabulary is the main part, right? So a vocabulary that a data engineer needs to know will be entirely different from a nurse who has come to work here in Germany. It will also be different for some other profession, right? I'm saying vocabulary is where the difference exists, right? And how do you learn the vocabulary that is relevant to your life? Of course, you can go and pay someone and they will create a PDF of vocabulary that is relevant to your professional life. But don't do that. You can create your own vocabulary. Now, you don't sit down and write down all the vocabulary. What you can do is you can write a diary for yourself. So what you can do is you think, let's say you sleep for 8 hours and you are awake for 16 hours. Let's say your day starts at 7 a.m. You write whatever happens from 7 to 7:30 in English. Then you write whatever happens from 7:30 to 8 in English. It will not happen in one day. It will take a month or two before you have. I will. It's best if you have one sentence for every minute. Again, you say like there are pockets of my day where I do nothing, but you are still thinking. So write what you are thinking about, and if unless and until you are like very busy, Monday to Friday is basically the same for all of us. There may be changes here and there. For example, those who are working, you have a daily scrum meeting, right? Like 15 minutes, same things happen, right? So you tell what you have done, or you say I have no update for today, so write that in this time I say this, and then you see. So that sentences you have, right? So you will have 30, 60, like one sentence per minute. So like there are 16 hours, 16 times 60, like around more than 900. So you will have 900 sentences. Each sentence will have a subject, verb, object. Preferably it's nice to have more than one object. So every sentence will have three words, right? 900 times 3 is like 2700. If you have 2700, at least 2700 German vocabulary that you can speak, that you know of, I think you have good enough vocabulary for your life. It will not happen instantly. It will take at least 4 to 6 months before you can build this German diary of yours. And you can be very specific. You say, okay, not 16 hours, I'll focus only on the 8 hours where I go to work. Not even 8 hours, I'll focus on those 4 hours where I have meetings with my colleagues. Focus on that. Write everything what happens in those meetings in English, not in German, in English. Then you start like circling, this is the verb that I need to learn, what is this verb in German, and then learn that verb and then write that sentence in German. And you slowly, as you do it, you know once you've written it, the first time you try to say it, you may make mistakes. Second time as well. Third time is the charm. It will happen. You will not make mistake when saying it. This is what you can do. This is what I think will work. May not. I mean, I think if you do it for 6 months and it does not work for you, reach out to me. I will apologize to you, buy you cheesecake. That's how what I do as a my way of saying sorry, and we will move on with our lives. Any questions about this approach? Okay. If there are no more questions, we will end the call now. I will post the link to join the vocabulary part